Good evening, and welcome to the 2017 Dodge City Community College Board of Trustee Candidate Forum, hosted by the Dodge City Area Chamber of Commerce, Rockingham Media, Daily Globe, and Dodge City Community College. My name is Andrea Lull, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Public Relations here at the college. The forum this evening will give you an opportunity to meet the candidates who are vying for 4 of the 7 available seats on the Board of Trustees. At the beginning of the forum, each candidate will be given up to 1 minute and 30 seconds for their opening statement. Following the opening statements, candidates will be asked questions prepared by the Dodge City Area Chamber of Commerce members, Dodge City Community members, and the Dodge City Community College Student Government Associations. Questions were submitted in advance via the Chamber website and 30 minutes prior to this evening's event. The candidates have not been briefed on the questions. Our host group decided that we were not going to ask questions that are directed towards specific people due to time. Candidates will have no more than 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. Candidates will be notified when there is 30 seconds left for their response. The candidates will take turns answering questions, and the forum will wrap up with a minute 30 seconds closing statement from each candidate. I would like to thank all of the candidates for taking the time to participate. Now, I would like to introduce this evening's moderator, retired District Judge Dan Love. Dan received his law degree from Washburn University and has served as Ford County Attorney for 10 years and as District Judge for 25 years. He's been active in many organizations in and around Dodge City. This includes the Boot Hill Museum Board of Directors, campaign chairman of the United Way, president of Rotary Club, member of Dodge City Public Library Board, director of the Dodge City Roundup, member Stoff Museum Board, the New Chance Board, and is active in his church. He has been married to Beth for 37 years, and they have 2 children, Hannah and Ben, who is a graduate of Dodge City Community College. I will now turn the forum over to Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank all of you for attending. It's very gratifying to see people who have a real interest in the community and come to a forum like this to learn something so that they can make informed and intelligent voting decisions when that comes up here in the near future. I'd also like to thank all of the candidates for attending. This group of candidates is an extraordinarily group of individuals. Their curriculum vitaes are all very impressive, and I feel confident in saying that Dodge City Community College is very fortunate to have a group such as this, either coming back trying to be reelected or seeking election to one of the vacant seats here for the community college. The format, as you've just been informed, is going to be, first off, allowing the candidates to give you a minute and a half opening statement. We're going to run through that first. After that, we're going to start with the questions. So with that, Dr. Conant, if you would take the microphone, you can have a minute and a half at this point.
Thanks. I'm sure it won't take a minute and a half. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Merrill Conant. I've been a family physician here in Dodge City for all of my professional life, approximately 30 years. And it's been a great privilege for me to help care for the healthcare needs of Dodge City citizens. As far as my family background, I come from a family of educators. So education is near and dear to my heart. I've often told my mother that her influence as a teacher may well have outweighed mine as someone's family physician over the years. I'm married to Candy. I have 3 adult daughters and 2 grandchildren. As far as my intentions in terms of running for the board, I've been on this board for approximately 12 years now, and I've counted it a privilege to serve this community and the citizens of Dodge City and Ford County. I think what I bring to a board is experience, times as far as other boards that I've served on, and the ability to work together with people who I may not agree with, but on a board, you have to have a sense of listening, learning, and then coming to a decision in the best interest of the people or the entity you're serving, which at this time is Dodge City Community College. So I would like to thank everyone for their attendance here tonight. I think it's great that the community's involved, is interested in the prospects for our community college, and I think the future is bright. I'm optimistic about what we have going on at the college, and I'm really glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conant. Mr. Hammond.
My name is Bill Hammond. I have an undergrad in speech and theater. I have a master's in divinity degree. I also happen to have a CPA certificate, so I've had some educational experiences. I've served as a community college business officer at 2 different community colleges for a total of 14 years. I'm currently the business officer at USD 443, where I'm working in my 11th year there, so I've been a business officer for about 25 years. I bring in experience to the board of financial accountability. I understand the state laws. I understand what has to happen in an educational institution to make it function. I have a passion, though, especially for the community college. The community college is really that organization, that educational opportunity that makes a difference for all of our citizens. Be you rich, poor, young, or old, the community college really beckons all. The community college is different than the old JC or junior colleges. Yes, we still have academic transfer credits. We still have terminal degrees, but we also have a new emphasis on vocational, which is one of the growing needs within our community. And also we have community enrichment. And I believe in those areas we can do a lot more than we have been doing. And I would hope to see each of those areas grow and develop at Dodge City Community College. And I do want to thank the moderator, those who sponsored this event, and those of you who cared enough to come out this evening to find out who you want to vote for.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Harshberger.
Thank you all for being here. My name's Gary Harshberger. I'm a lifelong resident of Fort County. Farming is my background, plus agribusiness. My family I'm a fourth generation farmer here in Fort County. My father was a teacher here at the college. The college has been rich in our background since the inception of the community college, and actually Dad was a student at the old city college. I myself, as a graduate of the Dodge City Community College, as well as my wife, I had 2 siblings graduate from the community college, and my son went to school here as well. So my interest is to serve the college well and see and develop the plan for the future of the college. As we see, there's been some issues. I've been on boards for the last 20 years, whether it's business, government, and now I'm education, and also in the financial industry. And in the financial industry, we have a lot of training in board oversight, governance, audit, and lots of different regards. And I believe I bring those qualities to this board to help sort through the problems that we have and make sure we have a clear vision and strategic plan for the future of the school. We need to embrace the future. We need to train our future workforce for the future demands of industry. And we need to have that kind of strategic thinking as we go forward. Thank you for being here, and I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Ms. Korbelek.
Hello. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dan, for doing this. I am more of a thinker and a planner than a talker, and so it's very important to me that I introduce myself well. So I have prepared a statement that I'm going to read a little bit of, and I hope you will forgive me. I'm Maya Schrader Korbelek. I was born and reared here in Dodge City. My family has farmed and been in business in Fort County for 4 generations. Currently, I serve as the CEO for my family's 4 businesses in Kansas, Colorado, and Texas, and I've been running those businesses since '05. I believe I'm highly qualified to help move this college forward. I served for a number of years on the board of Sterling College, and Sterling College has recently been recognized as one of the outstanding small liberal arts colleges in the Midwest, and I am proud to say that I was of service to that fine institution. After St. Mary the Plains closed, I worked as an administrator, fundraiser, and grant writer at Iowa Wesleyan College in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and for several years. And then I went to work at Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. I was also chosen as a fellow at CASE, which is the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, and studied collegiate boardsmanship and administration in Washington, D.C. I think our college is an undervalued and underutilized but precious resource for this community in all of Southwest Kansas. Dodge City Community College should be partnering with business and industry to create highly trained, highly employable, and educated workforce for our community. Our community needs to prioritize keeping young people in well-paying jobs, living and raising families in Ford County and Southwest Kansas.
Ms. Korbeluk, what we'll do is let you finish that on your closing. How would that be?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. Ms. Ramsauer.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ramsauer, and I'm running for Board of Trustees because I believe in this community college. I believe in our students in Dodge City. I'm an educator, and I've been an educator in Dodge City. My family were educators, and I have children that are educators. I think that the growth of this college is there, and we just need to develop it. Spearville, Wright, Buckland have students that could be using this college along with our community and the high school. We need to develop workforce strategies, go out into the workforce and ask them, what is it that you're needing, so that we can start developing and working with it here. We have got to keep the college. We've got to make sure that we follow the regulations, because this is so important to this community. I couldn't have gone to college had I not had this school. We couldn't afford it. And there's lots of families that are needing a college like this in order to start their way in education. I think this college can give to this community everything it needs to give. I think we can build it. I think we need to use it more with our public to come in. I know lots of people come in and take arts and pottery and different things like this. I think that's important. Exercise classes. We have to work with the public and make sure that they use our college. The students, we need to get out there and get our enrollment, keep it going. We're only down 1% versus what the rest of the community colleges in the state are. They're at 2%. We are showing a lot of growth. It may not be what we'd like, but we're not losing what the state is on the whole. So I think that that's important for us to keep doing. Thank you for coming out. I know it's not the best thing to do in an evening like this because it's beautiful weather, but I appreciate it, and so do the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsauer. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. My name is Morris Reeves. Appreciate our sponsors tonight. But my primary reason for running as a trustee is to protect and enhance student successes within Dodge City Community College. Student success as a student while at Dodge City Community College, and their success as they matriculate to baccalaureate degrees and into the workforce. Secondly, I want to ensure diversity in our college. We're an open enrollment college, and we must make all students feel welcome, regardless of their national origin, religion, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Third, I want to ensure that our students continue to receive a quality education. This means we must take our academic rigor seriously. The college just went through a very rough patch with our academic rigor and was seriously compromised by the prior administration. We must continue our current administration's quest of ensuring that all faculty members, whether academic or technical, whether regular or adjunct, and are fully qualified under the parameters set by a Higher Learning Commission. I cannot overemphasize how important it is to continue to work to ensure our accreditation is approved when the Higher Learning Commission arrives next April. I feel my life experiences in education will serve well as a trustee. I hold a doctor's degree in education administration with emphasis in business and finance from the University of Southern California. My career has been in education, from classroom teacher to principal to central administration. I thank you very much for your attention, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reichenborn.
I'm Dan Reichenborn, and in spite of a lack of due diligence by the Globe, I still am running for the office. I was born in Dodge City and grew up here. I attended college here. I have 3 degrees from Fort Hays State University, a bachelor in psychology, a master's in education administration, and a specialist in educational administration. I taught middle school here for 35 years and was honored with many awards for my ability to teach and reach students in and out of the classroom. I'm presently serving as treasurer for Meals on Wheels Board. I'm also the founder, sponsor, mentor for Ladies Community Outreach, those girls in the pink shirts who volunteer for community service. After I quit teaching, I was director of the Alley for 4 years and president of the USD 443 Board of Education for 6 years. I don't mince words, and I think you all know that. When I ran for the board, there were 4 other candidates that were elected at the same time. A 6th board member resigned, thus nearly completely sweeping house, and a new board was there. We were able to get rid of a superintendent who was ineffective and hire Alan Cunningham, who I think you all know has completely turned this district around. We were able to work together, and that's the only way a board can get things done. We built new schools, no new taxes, Ross and Comanche. We turfed a field, no new taxes, and I appreciate your vote.
Mr. Wall.
Good evening. I want to thank the Chamber, Dodge City Community College, Rockingham Radio, and the Globe for this opportunity. I've been a resident of Dodge City for over 40 years. My wife, my 3 children, and my grandchildren have attended Dodge City Community College. Currently, I'm retired. I spent 38 years employed by the High Plains Journal. During my tenure at HPJ, my primary responsibilities were within the realm of marketing. I worked with marketing firms, marketing directors, as well as planners. It would be that experience I would lean on and bring to the College Board of Trustees. My 2 top priorities are: develop a sound marketing strategy that encompasses all aspects of Dodge City Community College, analyze DC3's strengths and opportunities, as well as those areas we find ourselves challenged. We will set goals and objectives for short and long term. We will measure our successes and failures. We want to capitalize on our opportunities and repair those areas we are slipping. I have stated on many occasions we should be the gold standard of community colleges in western Kansas. I believe we could take a page from Herb Keller of Southwest Airlines. And what we need to do is DC3 will set itself apart from the others by delivering the best college experience to students and their families. Thus, we will be the best we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Well. The first question that we're going to bring up in this forum is this. And I'll give the question out once, and then we will just start with you, Mr. Conant, and go down the row. Do you see a specific need in our community that Dodge City Community College should be providing?
I think in regards to this question, it's hard to be specific about just one thing that this community college should be providing. I think there's a wide breadth of opportunities that the college does provide, whether it's sports, whether it's the arts, the opportunities for adult education, and certainly for our students that are starting in community college and hopefully going on to 4-year universities or just starting out in the workforce. So in terms of specific things that needs to be provided, I think one way of evaluating that, a couple of years ago we had a community forum which brought together a lot of people on campus to discuss what the community college currently was offering, maybe some things that the community was interested in, and perceived weaknesses or things that we should be offering. So I think that may be one way of approaching this question. Really see what the community needs from us, and do our best to provide that. I know we can't be all things to all people. There's limited resources. There's various constraints that we have. But I think in terms of getting a pulse of the community, we're going to have to ask those questions of the community.
Thank you, Dr. Cunett. Mr. Hammond.
Recently in the Time magazine, it talked about, there was an article, The Case for Community Colleges, why it's more valuable and vulnerable than ever. And basically, one of the points in that article was the need for certificate programs. An awful lot of jobs today don't require necessarily a four-year degree or a master's or a PhD, but it does require training in a certificate program. The Kansas Board of Regents, in their 2017 Community College Data Book, showed that Dodge City Community College had an 18.9% drop in the short-term certificates completed at this college. They had a 52.0% drop in technical certificates between 30 and 44 credit hours. Folks, that's not acceptable. That needs to be turned around. And as a board member, I will see that that happens. We need to provide that technical education for our students and for our community. And that's the number one thing that needs to be handled at the community college, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Harshberger.
Healthcare. The healthcare industry is in need of trained, qualified nurses. I believe our nursing program could be top-notch in the region. I think that's an area that Dodge City could really excel at. And so I would believe that the college should really bolster its efforts in improving the nursing program. I think it is what the area out here demands. We have a hard time finding nurses because of the high demand for them. The demand is there. That is definitely a role that we should fill, and it's low-hanging fruit, if you want to call it, for us to do. Dodge City has had a rich history in the past of having a top-notch nursing program. We can reinvigorate that, and I think that should be in the forefront of our activities. I think we need to reach out to our students, like Ms. Ramsauer brought out, to Buckland or whatever. We've got a top-notch band program just across the street, and yet we don't go out and recruit those students. We could fill that role and get students in here by going out and recruiting them. We need to reach out to the local industry. We've had a lot of industry people come to the college and say, we need this for a trained workforce. Just like Mr. Hammond says, the technical degrees, we don't need people going to four-year college so much. We need to train them for that. We need to look at the world and see what they need for a trained workforce. But right here, we've got a lot of technical things in agriculture, precision farming, water management, everything that we could be filling those needs right here in Dodge City. We should not have to send ag students to Colby for a top-notch agriculture program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Ms. Korbelik, and if you would get the microphone right in front of you there. They're trying to get this recorded well, so you're good. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's some areas that Dodge City Community College can improve in. Because there's always room for improvement. I agree, we need more technical programs. We need more certificate programs. Along with medical, I think that we need an EMT program perhaps. I also think we need mid-level providers in medicine and in dental. That's being explored with a grant from the city. I think Dodge City Community College needs to be deeply involved as that is looked at. Perhaps there's training that can happen on this campus. I know that there are opportunities to work with businesses to provide special educational opportunities for young people and others in our community to have good paying, excellent jobs. And that's what I'm running about. I want to improve this community college. It's a good place, but it can be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. Ms. Reeves.
Or Ramsauer.
Ramsauer. I was looking at the next one down. Ms. Ms. Ramsauer.
I think that the community college has started in that movement with the nursing program, and it's been one of the best ones. You're right. It's been one of the best ones. But we need to address some of the situations that, for instance, at the high school and all of the high schools around, getting those students to be able during their day to take some academic courses over here from our community college to assist them to get that step up a little bit with their education. And make sure that when they do transfer, every credit will transfer. We have a lineman program that is marvelous. We need to continue developing technology and different parts like the lineman program. My brother had refrigerating and air, and he couldn't find people to come in and do different things for him. We need to fill those needs and voids that our community has. We need to be able to go out and work with the colleges around us and get some background from them on what do you need and how can we help you too. What are you going to have to be committed to for us to send our students to you? I think it's important that we as a community college continue to monitor what it is this community needs. We need to develop more on our STEM activities, which is your science, your mathematics, your engineering, your technology. We need to work with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsar. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. Well, first, of course, we have to maintain our traditional programs for the students that are matriculating to a baccalaureate program. But as far as workforce is concerned, we need to do a better job in evaluating what the workforce requirements are or workforce needs are in western Kansas. We have some of our programs, I think, really don't apply to western Kansas, such as mountain rescue. You know, it's not too often you have a job opening in mountain rescue around here. We are in the middle of the wind industry. We need to get involved with the wind industry. But the main thing is to do a workforce requirements survey and then use the data and make a decision based upon the data.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reichenborn.
I think we need to.
Would you pull the microphone up a little closer, please?
I think we need to offer more opportunities for adults in our community. I think we need to increase our tech program, more offerings, maybe a wind energy tech program. We need to hire teachers who are well-educated, well-trained to deliver quality, rigorous instruction. We need to go out to the local high schools here in Ford County and ask students what they need Dodge City Community College to be for them.
Thank you, Mr. Reichenborn. Mr. Weil.
Well, Dodge City Community College is an excellent option for students. It's a great alternative to a four-year school from the standpoint that it's so reasonable in tuition as opposed to the gigantic costs that a four-year school might have. It's a great starting place. I think studies have shown that students that attend a community college seem to have a leg up when they go to that next level, when they go to that four-year school. So this is a great opportunity for students that come to DC3 to move ahead. I think that what's important is we need to develop a curriculum that addresses the needs of western Kansas, that we reach out and we find out what's needed. We should have we should be able to gauge the pulse of technology, the arts, industry, to find out what the future will bring. I think something else that the community college offers is a great quality of life for our community. We also could possibly use the community college to attract commerce, to reach out and be able to showcase to an industry or a business that wants to come, or a hospital, and say, we can work with you if you need training, some type of training of your personnel. So, in essence, it's a great opportunity for Dodge City in numerous ways.
Thank you, Mr. Weil. Second question. How do you feel about developing online education here at DC3? And we will start here with Mr. Hammond.
I think the first thing you need to understand is we need to understand who we are in Dodge City today. Dodge City USD 443 has the highest rate of at-risk students in the entire state of Kansas. We have one of the largest groups of EEL students in the entire state of Kansas. The experience that I've had talking to a number of educators has been these students are smart, they can learn, but a lot of them need face-to-face instruction. Our first priority is to our local students from Ford County, and we need to make sure we offer them the program we need. Obviously, online instruction is here, but I don't see it as a major focus of our community college. Our community college is here to serve our students, and we need to respond to our students' need in the kind of education curriculum that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Harshberger.
There's no doubt education around the country is changing. And so we have older people that need access to online curriculum, as well as, the other students. It's not the same. But there's still no doing away with teachers. That instruction, that one-on-one contact, that is the most important thing. So I think we have the ability to look into online education because of our diverse community and the different needs. We have to adapt to those needs. But there is no substitute for good teaching and good teachers. So I'm not in favor of everything going online because of that contact. I remember my teachers in the past and just the indelible imprint they put on me. So it depends on what you're going into education-wise, the needs. There are people out there that need access because they can't go to school all day long. They need to have access to education in the evenings or whenever they have. They have families to take care of. So their need for education is different. So we need to be able to handle that, plus take care of the traditional roles of the college as people look for their bachelor's degrees and going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberg. Ms. Korbelik.
I believe there is no substitute for one-on-one education, and yet I think all options ought to be available. They're not only online, but I think there'll be new innovations and ways to teach students, and all of those options must be considered and perhaps developed here at the college. Yes, one-on-one, face-to-face education is a wonderful thing, and it's been very valuable to me during my education. Online offers opportunities for people who cannot come here. Maybe they're locationally disadvantaged, maybe they're working, but there are also other new innovations coming out in ways to provide education. And I hope Dodge City Community College will investigate those ways and provide innovation in educating the people in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. Mr. Ramsauer.
I agree. There's nothing to replace a teacher. One-on-one questions, feeling what they're feeling, seeing in their eyes if they understand or not. I'm a teacher for 40-some years. That's important. But I also understand that if we continue to do what we're doing now, Bill Hammond's right. We have some of the best technology in 443 anybody could ask for. Our kindergartners are coming up being able to use that technology. We're going to have to be able to teach those children the way they have been brought up and taught. We can't keep an antiquated system out there without using some online resources. I think the opportunity is huge. I had, as a principal, I had parents that would put the babies to bed at night and then go online to start working on their education so that they could make a better life for their children. And the kids were excited because mom was going to college. I want that opportunity to have a big growth in Dodge City, and I think our college can do that. I want us to be able to reach out and hit these other communities around us with an online program, not taking anything away from our college, because this experience that I had as a community college student was the best ever. I had so much fun out here, and kids need that. You need to have that camaraderie and understand it. So I think it's an opportunity for everybody to embrace on all of it.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsauer. Mr. Reeves.
Yes, they always say that the best teaching situation is a student on one end of the log and the teacher on the other end of the log. So face-to-face is critically important, but we have to realize we're dealing with the millennial generation. And the millennials are tech savvy, and they understand it, and they rely on it, and they love it. And I believe that any education institution that does not promote an online option is missing a good bet. We just have to address take a good look at the students we're going to be dealing with. And these are the tech students. We got to deal with them.
Mr. Reeves, Mr. Reichenborn.
I believe we should explore the adding on online education to the system we have now, but there absolutely is no replacement for face-to-face education in 443 or in DCC. I taught for a long time, and I deliberately challenged my students by playing devil's advocate, and so that they would challenge me. If students did not get the answers they wanted, if they did not get the instruction that they needed, then they could stay after school. I was there. I was there before school. I put in the time. Students need that. They need a teacher that's there for them and that they can contact and that they can get in arguments with. I one time said to the girls in my class, "You girls, you know, you'll make great cooks someday at home." The next morning, the secretaries had let the girls into my classroom, and my room was plastered with famous women who had made their mark in American history. That's how you teach.
Mr. Reichenborn, Mr. Weil.
Well, according to a recent Title V study, it reported that 60% of incoming students are underprepared. I mean by that they need some additional reading and mathematical studies. Thus, they can't participate unless they meet a certain criteria in online studies. I, like myself, like everyone else, truly believes that, you know, one-on-one is no question the best. But then we also need to have an eye to the future and be able to, like Maya said, be able to take a look down the road that there might be new elements coming on board that we should, you know, we should be aware of, and if there's an opportunity there, to snatch it. So I guess what I'm saying here is that we need to work on, you know, in many cases, almost 2 out of 3 need to have a little bit more work on their math and reading, and then, like I say, as opportunity arises, take a look at online and see where we fit and how we can best capitalize on them. That's my opinion.
Mr. Weil, thank you. Dr. Conant.
Well, I think maybe the best way to describe online is an opportunity. I certainly agree that it's no replacement for traditional classroom education, but if you want to maintain a competitive place, even in the community college environment, I think that online has to be a part of that. For any of you who've done recertifications, or many of you, I'm sure that you're having to change the way you study and the way that you obtain those certifications, and most of it is not face-to-face. So again, I don't think it's ever a replacement for, but I think to maintain our competitiveness, we have to offer those options to students. We all know that people learn in different ways. However, if we think that the traditional way is the only model or the best model, I think we may be missing an opportunity for our community college to grow. So in that regards, it has its place, and we need to find that proper place for it.
Thank you, Dr. Conant. Okay, next question. In what ways do you believe Dodge City Community College can work directly with Dodge City High School to increase the amount of students that start dual credit classes while they are in high school? Mr. Harshberger, we'll let you start this off.
You know, as we look at the millennial generation, we know it's a lot about technology. And that's kind of how you're going to have to lead into that. But you know, right now there's not that much dialogue between the college and the high school, which is just, I don't understand that. And not only that not with Dodge City High School, but the other colleges in our county. So first we have to do is we have to get the dialogue going. We have to work with them. You know, I brought up band music. It was, when I came on board 6 months ago, I learned that we had, what, 5, 6 people in music, where we had 150 scholarships to hand out. And I asked this high school, it says, how many times has the college been there to talk to you about your students? None. That's the recruiting aspect. That's the reaching out. That is working within your community. You just can't sit back and let things come to you. You have to be aggressive like any business and go out and get those students and develop your curriculum. And that starts with that outreach and that working with those people. By doing that, you're going to understand what these students, by working with the high schools, what these students are looking at, talking about, thinking about, what their passions are, and then take that and couple that with what's going on in the industry around you, and you merge that stuff together and develop a curriculum or training or a technical program that helps fit it. But there has to be that work together, that strategic planning, by bringing the need with the students' passions together, and you have to do that with working with your schools.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Ms. Korbelek.
Well, I believe that we need to communicate with all 3 high schools in our county. We need to coordinate so it's convenient for students to take dual credit. I'm the mother of 2, and both of my children took dual credits here at this college, and I'm very proud of that. It gave them a great start for their education. Are we providing the classes that the high school students need at a convenient time? Have we coordinated times with the community, with the high school, with all the high schools? Are we looking for ways to provide exactly what those students need? Yes, I think the recruiters, and I need to be at all 3 high schools. But also there may need to be some administrators, some deans who are also working at a bit higher level to coordinate with the administrations at these high schools. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelek. Ms. Ramsar?
We have a lot of marketing people up here, and I think marketing of this community college is very, very important, and communicating. Right now, if there's a college course offered to a high school student, it has to be at the college's time, 9 a.m.
Yep.
Students can't say, I have 3-hour block in the afternoon that I'd like to take college classes, and just have that opportunity to come over. We need to look at that. What is it that will help them be successful in all of our high schools around us? How can we get say speech or literature 1 to Buckland while they have a couple of hours that some of their seniors could be taking that class online? We need to make sure that we are going over marketing this college, sending other students over there, talk to them, visit with them, pump it up, get them excited, and enroll them. But we need to look at their needs, not making them have to meet our little schedule and calendar. That's very, very important.
Ms. Korbelek. Ms. Ramsar?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Harshberger. We need to do a better job of getting our faculty over to the high schools and visiting with the high school teachers and the counselors. The counselors are critical at the high school level in scheduling students and getting them lined up for the dual credit courses. I applaud the state legislature and Department of Education in the program for the vocational classes that where they're providing funding for this. I think that we need to encourage our legislatures to appropriate additional funds for that program.
Mr. Ramsar,
We've gone past you.
you've gone past me. Okay, all right.
I don't look
Work
like
that.
that. She's better looking.
Okay. Mr. Reichenborn.
Well, I think we need to work directly with Dodge City High School to get more of the students over here. When I was on the board, we decided to provide students with free instruments to encourage them to go out for band and orchestra. And the band and the orchestra programs exploded. I never could figure out how come more of them weren't coming over to the college. And I realize now that there was no effort by the college to get them here. That is a great thing that we should be doing, going over to the high school, not only this high school, but others, and recruiting. We should make classes available, dual credit classes available on Saturdays so that students in outlying districts can come over. Well, I taught a dual credit class here at the college, psychology, and most of my students, over half of them, were from the high school. All they had to do was walk across the street and come here. Why can't we have classes available for students in the outlying areas so they can get here on a Saturday morning and also take dual credit classes? We need to start doing more.
Thank you, Mr. Reichenborn. Mr. Weil?
I did do some research on dual credits, and within a 30-mile radius, roughly a 30-minute drive, we have 10 schools. And within those 10 schools, we probably have 1,000 seniors that would be an opportunity for dual credits. That's a pretty good pool to go after. I think, in my mind, what we would need to do is to put together a strategic plan, set goals and objectives. Just how many students can we get in dual credits? We need to develop, like Kathy was saying, we need to really concentrate on scheduling and find a scheduling solution that fits the high schools and the college so that we can maximize our efforts and help the high school kids get started. We probably should set up a timetable. You know, it's sometimes, you know, wouldn't it be nice when you walk into a place and they go, oh, you're here right on time, this is perfect. But that doesn't happen. A lot of times they say, oh boy, you know, maybe next time. So I would say set up a timetable to maximize our efforts. So maybe we need to talk to juniors so that they can get started when they take a look at the next year's courses and say, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And we need to also work with schools and their staffs. We need to communicate as best we can so that they're knowledgeable. One of the things that's most important is that we have to know our product and they have to know our product. They have to know what we offer. And this is something that we can do, that we can reach out. I would say, like I say, set up a timetable, set up a plan so that we can put a full court press on those 10 schools so that it's a good match and we maximize our efforts and get and increase our dual credit students. And then, like I say, achieve a such specific goal on how many we want to get in here. And then maybe the next year we say, let's up that goal 10%. Rather than, let's say, getting 150 students, let's get, well, what would that be, 165, 170 students. And each year, get more and more.
Thank you, Mr. Well. Dr. Conant?
I think it's clear that dual credit is another opportunity. One of the advantages of community college is flexibility. And I think in terms of this, you know, you've heard that access and availability to students is really what's key, because there's probably a lot of demand out there, but if we don't have those classes available at times that students can access them, it's really not that great of a benefit. So again, I think dual credit, it's a marketing opportunity for all of our area high schools. It's, again, offers things to students that at a very inexpensive cost and gives them some preparation for their next steps educationally. But we have to be flexible as a community college to offer those things at the right times.
Thank you, Dr. Conant. Mr. Hammond?
It's interesting, we're talking dual credit because the last time I checked the law, it's called concurrent enrollment, not dual credit anymore. At least it's what I mean. I get kind of technical on that because when I get the paper, the law is there. Basically, at Highland Community College, we didn't ask all the kids from the high schools to come to our campus because we serve 7.5 counties. I think that's the first mistake we're making here. We basically provided teachers, either local people we hired as adjunct, highly qualified, I may add, at the high schools throughout a 7.5 county service. While I was at Highland, we actually started producing more credit hours off campus than we did on campus. If we're serious, we'll go to where the students are, not ask them to come to where we are. By the way, the band is an interesting thing. I don't know how many students we have in the band, Dan, but I do know it's a 5-bus band now. It takes 5 buses to move that monster, and we're grateful it's a monster. We're grateful it's growing. So that's good news. I think you also might want to be aware that the Board of Education 443 hired a career counselor, which is under some of the new state laws that's coming out. We're hiring our first one. Some schools are hiring more. But this whole thing is the Career to Work program. We need to understand that as a community college. We need to be involved in that as a community college. We need to be part of that as a community college. And yes, I believe that part of the issue with technical education, we ought to be talking to all of our high schools about what are they doing with technical education and how can we be the next logical step, and we ought to be working with them. So yes, I agree we need to be doing a lot more with our high schools in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Next question, Mia, you'll have this one first. In what ways can DC3 work with state universities in bringing 4-year programs to Dodge City?
Well, how we need to start is make sure that we have very clear matriculation agreements so that students who take a class here, that class counts for their degree when they move to a four-year college. How do we do this? Coordinate completely with the major four-year universities. We need to bring some of those university options out here. Fort Hays has just made a four-year degree that you can get here in Dodge City. I think K-State might be interested in doing that, and I think all the Kansas universities should be. We also have Kansas Newman here in Dodge City, so there's that option for educators for a four-year degree. So it's a situation where our people, some people here are locationally disadvantaged. How do we provide those opportunities to them? And that's by bringing others here and making sure that the degrees offered here matriculate well if they must go to the larger universities.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. Ms. Ramsar.
I think that this community is on the right track. Right now, we are desperately in need of teachers at all levels. So bringing and working with our community college and the other colleges to bring in a four-year teaching degree, working hand in hand with us, is utmost important. Then we have the medical part that we need to do. We have, Eddie Estes was way above his time at that point, because he had where you would work a half a day and then you go out into the community and work and try to get some kind of a job lined up. Well, we need to do that with all of our other degrees. For instance, education. I've had community college students come into my elementary school and they get credit for coming in and being an aide, those kind of parts. And then when they went on to K-State or to Emporia, that counted also as part of their grade. So we need to work very closely on trying to align the curriculum with what the universities are saying, so that whenever they do leave, everything is okay for them to get all of the credits that they deserve. I like the way this college is going to help with the community and trying to bring in the medicine, the education, like you said with Fort Hays. So I think more of that is needed.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsar. Mr. Moore. Mr. Reeves.
Well, we kind of had this discussion when the Fort Hays merger was proposed a few years back, but that failed. What we were left with was a recommendation by the Board of Trustees to promote a 2+2 system. The 2+2 system is an excellent system. However, there has to be sufficient incentive for the parent or the baccalaureate institution to finance the program in a remote location, such as Fort Hays' operating program here in Dodge City Community College. We need to do more research and get more involved with the institutions, see if we can work out some type of an incentive program to get these programs to Dodge City. Some other states have allowed community colleges to provide baccalaureate degrees in certain disciplines, for instance, in teacher education. And I think that would probably be more successful in the state of Kansas if we can get the legislation through that would allow us to do that. I think that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reckenborn.
I don't think it can be that difficult. We've done it with K-State before. Newman is here in town. You have to step out and make the first move, though. And I think the college has to make the space available at a reasonable cost. I think we need to put some money forward, get some sponsors for those type of programs, and contact colleges such as Fort Hays State or K-State and get them to bring some programs out here. It's not a hard thing to do. Those institutions are ready and willing to come to Dodge if we make the first move to get them here.
Thank you, Mr. Reckenborn. Mr. Weil.
Well, I believe we're already working, I believe, with 3 schools already. And Fort Hays State has an office in our library. I believe we're working with Pittsburgh State as far as the building aspect and building construction programs, and I believe we're also working with K-State. But we're very fortunate here in Kansas. We have some schools that are renowned for excellence in different fields. I believe Emporia State, is renowned for education, and Washburn Law, and Kansas State Veterinary Studies, and KU Journalism, and Wichita State would be business. I believe if we reach out to them, like Dan says, and we reach out to them and say, all right, how can we make this work? Let's find a solution that will benefit you and then also work with us. It can be done. It's just a question of making that move, sitting down and saying, how do we get this done? And then once we develop plans, we need to also make sure, like Maya said, we need to make sure that kids can matriculate, that they can move on without any problems, without losing any, credits or anything of that nature, so that it's a nice, smooth process going from here to there, and they just can keep on going. Like I said earlier, that's one of the strengths of DC3 is that we have a reasonable cost. So that's just a great opportunity to get started in your career for a reasonable cost and then move on to that next level. And then if the college is already linked to, let's say, a four-year institution, that's good for that four-year institution because they know that they can count on our kids moving up in that direction. And I think it's an opportunity that we certainly, should develop and look after.
Thank you, Mr. Well. Dr. Conant.
I think that there's been a lot of work done over the years. We talked about, or you've heard about articulation agreements with the various four-year colleges in Kansas, particularly the Regents universities. And I know a lot of work has gone into that, and it would be surprising to many of us how intricate those discussions are with the universities. But again, the administration over time has done a lot of good work in helping out those agreements. The worst thing that a student here could have is the idea that a course that they took is going to transfer to a four-year university and then find out that those credits are not granted by that receiving institution. So a lot of work's gone there, and it's a work in progress, but it's a lot better than it used to be. I think in terms of partnering with four-year institutions, we should not forget, in addition to our Regents universities, there's a large number of private four-year colleges in Kansas that could also have interest in a program or another and partnering with Dodge City Community College. So again, I think the opportunities are there. We need to be a good partner and do our part for our students, which I believe we've already done.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Hammond.
There's actually a model in Kansas of a similar situation in Johnson County. Johnson County for a number of years has had a Regents Center. There are a number of the four-year institutions from the Regents schools that offer classes in Johnson County where you can get a degree at the Regents Center. That's the urban setting. We need to figure out a way to replicate that in a rural setting because we have the need. We have a lot of students in this area, young people who are very much tied to home, who are tied to this area, who don't have really the opportunity to go away to school for 2 or 3 years to finish up that bachelor's degree. I completely agree that teaching is an important area. I think accounting and business are important. I think a BSN degree and some other medical things are important. I think we ought to add to that maybe a social work or psychology degree in addition. But I do believe that there is a model, and that's what we ought to be looking at. Let's bring a Regents Center to Dodge City. That's what needs to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Harshberger.
I received my degree in electrical engineering from K-State, and I took the courses here at Dodge City Community College, and this kind of goes back to another subject that is the quality of the teachers. And I felt when we took, our calculus and physics here, and when every one of those hours transferred to K-State, and I felt like we were ahead of our peers at K-State because of that one-on-one contact we've had with top-notch teachers here. And it goes without saying that has to happen. We have to make sure that continuity, that these hours transfer like they used to. But I want to go a step further because education is changing. You look at the major expansions that like universities like K-State are doing right now. They're leaning into the future about what the workforce is needing. They're making huge investments in this. And in that becomes new. They say that, 70% of the jobs today won't exist 10 years from now, some stat like that. They're leaning into that. So we need to be working with these universities that are leaning into the future, looking to see what industry and what the workforce of the future needs, and seeing what roles we can do right here. Say, K-State, what can we be doing here to help train these kids so they can fit into that pipeline, that new vision that you're starting to develop and investing millions of dollars into. And so we work with our universities around the state and across, the country into that. K-State's a great example with that and what we can do here in Dodge City to fill that pipeline and working with them.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Okay, next question. Do you think that it is a conflict of interest to be on the board and have family members employed by the college? Ms. Ramsauer.
I guess I have kind of mixed emotions on some of that because I do think it is a conflict of interest. But having said that, if a person is on a board and there is that conflict of interest, I would hope they would be professional enough to excuse themselves from whatever topic is being voted on or discussed at that time that might cause some of those problems to make the news or to cause discourse within the trustees themselves. But I hope that people are professional enough, if that happens, that they know how to say, I need to leave right now. I can't sit in on this session because it's a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reeves.
Well, I don't think there's any question but what the possibility of a conflict of interest would exist on a board agenda where you have an issue dealing with the collective bargaining agreement and these kinds of things. I agree with Mrs. Ramsauer. I feel that it's obligation of the trustee to recuse themselves when those matters are before the board. And when the board, once the board makes its decision, all trustees should get together and support the decision of the majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Rockenborn.
Of course, it could be a conflict of interest, but a board member recusing themselves from the discussion and the vote on any issue that their family member is involved in, it's a logical step to take. It's been done many times on many boards, and it should present no problem for an employee, a person to be on the board who has employees working for DCC.
Thank you, Mr. Rockenborn. Mr. Weil.
In my opinion, I, for one, because this, in many ways, this question is directed pretty much in my direction, because I have a son on the faculty. But this is an older one, but this is an organizational chart. And the Board of Trustees is only works with one person, that's the president. Then everyone else underneath addresses, let's say, I believe there's 3 or 4 layers before the faculty reaches, the Board of Trustees, and it just, in most cases, it never reaches that way. Currently, there's about 10 families that are, let's say, working at Dodge City Community College, and in the past, we've had, the Williams, Strobels, and the Webbs all serve on as trustees and had family members working here. As I said earlier, that it's kind of a shot at me, and in my opinion, this question, I'm not so sure it's really effective, because one of the things that I believe that I'm experiencing is kind of a smear campaign against the Wiles, and it's pretty much a cheap shot. Rather than talk about some of the incumbents, rather than talk about achievements, they've moved on to a negative campaign, and I just don't see that's the way to go. So I would think that after 10 years or 12 years serving on the board, you would have some achievements to talk about other than nepotism or conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Weil. Dr. Conant.
I think in answer to the question, clearly that is a conflict of interest, so what is a board member to do? The responsibility of any board member regarding conflicts of interest, whether they be family members or business interests or financial interests, is to disclose those. And, as long as that, it doesn't mean that those conflicts don't exist or can't come up from time to time. However, it is the board member's responsibility to disclose those and also to recuse themselves from any discussions that might end up with that potential conflict of interest being a detriment to the college.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Hammond?
There's really two issues on this. One is the issue of a legal question. The legal question is there is no conflict of interest. Most of the boards that I've worked for in my 20-some years of education, both higher ed and 443 work, there's been at least one board member on who's had a family member also work for the district. I mean, it's just not that unusual, especially in small towns. So there is no legal conflict of interest. Of course, the other issue is, and I'm sorry, Pete, I have to disagree with you. I thought it was directed at me because my wife works here at the college. By the way, she may be out there, and yes, we are still married, and that's, but I just might mention that when I applied for the board position, when the opening was there, she basically took a letter to the Dodge City Daily Globe and said, hey, I will resign as a faculty president if my husband's named to the board. We felt that would be maybe inappropriate or have some issues. So we're going to make sure that that doesn't become an issue. But no, the conflict of interest can be a variety of things. It'd be like me asking Dr. Conan, since you're a preferred provider under our health care policy for Dodge City Community College, is that a conflict of interest? I don't think so. I just can't see that. It depends how far you want to take it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hirschberger?
I've been with a financial institution on the board of directors for 20 years with a lot of training and things like that. And where conflicts of interest are very, very important, and they take it very, 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 very important in the financial world, because you do not want to send forth to the public the wrong impression that somebody is getting favoritism. And therefore, they take very hard lines on that. And so, nepotism causes a collapse in the culture. And then once that culture collapses, corruption ensues. And therefore, they try to prevent and make aware of these conflicts of interest. And in the education realm, many, many years ago, it was absolutely forbidden. So our standards have slipped over the decades to where now it's like, okay, it's okay if you have family members working there. So the important thing as we look at going forward, you have the responsibility, if you're going to be an honorable board member, then when the situations come up, one, you have to, just like in the banking deal, we have to write down and acknowledge our conflicts of interest. And we're going to be required to remove ourselves or be removed when those issues come up where you might have a conflict of interest. And it's up to the person's honor and integrity to do so that the people are entrusting you to do what is right for the school. They don't want to doubt and think that you're doing what's good for you or your family. That's nepotism. And we have to avoid that. So the disclosures are very important. And a person has to have the honor and integrity to disclose those and make it aware, that everybody's aware of those conflicts of interest, and to recuse yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschberger. Ms. Korbelik?
I don't believe there's a legal conflict of interest, but I do believe the honorable thing to do is to recuse yourself and to make known what that conflict of interest might be. I think every board member currently serving, and I think every candidate sitting up here tonight are honorable people. I think that anyone standing up here or sitting up here would recuse themselves and would be scrupulously honest in serving this community college first. Your fiduciary responsibility as a board member remains to hold the best interests of this college forward at all times, and I believe every one of us would.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. All right, the next question. With the release of the Kansas Board of Regents report and the Glendenning report about past administration issues, how would you as a trustee keep this from happening again? Mr. Reeves, you'll be the first to respond.
Well, obviously, this is a very disturbing situation to the college when, you know, we learned that there was misconduct and illegal activities going on in the college. It is the primary responsibility of the president of the college to ensure the integrity within the institution. And unfortunately, this apparently was not done, as you can tell by reading the Glendenning report. These kinds of activities were going on. People have said, well, you are a trustee, why didn't you stop it? Well, you know, trustees are lay people. They have full-time jobs. They're not in the institution. They don't do the day-to-day work. That is the job of the president and the president's assistants, the vice presidents and deans, to ensure that the integrity of the institution is maintained. And we will just have to make sure and monitor the president very closely to make sure that the academic integrity of the college is maintained at all times.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Reichenborn?
The present trustees have made a mess of this institution that they were supposed to be guiding. At USD 443, a board member goes over every credit card statement and every purchase order every month. This is never done by these trustees. My wife Janice and I have owned and successfully operated our own businesses for over 30 years. We are now pumpkin farmers. We presently own and operate the Funny Farm Pumpkin Patch and Maze. It is essential to know how much money is coming in and how much is going out, and what it's going out for. How can you possibly know if you never check the bills? Folks, I've been accused when I was on the other board of micromanaging. If there's no management, then it's the board's responsibility to micromanage. And that's the situation you have at this college.
Mr. Weil?
In regard to the Glendenning investigation, I don't believe I can comment on this issue at that time. The many allegations have yet to be completely investigated, and I really think it would be very irresponsible on my behalf to comment prematurely. But I do want to say something to counter what Mr. Reeves has said, that it's the president's responsibility. No, it's not the president's responsibility. The citizens of Ford County entrusted the board of directors to, let's say, to be stewards of their community's college. This is my community's college, and I'm entrusting you. That's why I'm voting for you. So to pass the buck and say, well, it was the president. In this case, I've heard a lot of, well, it was the past president's job. No, it has not. It's been, the responsibility lies in the hands of the trustees who are there. Under their watch, all this controversy has come about. And to point fingers, you know, and accuse others of misbehavior or you know, wrong actions is very irresponsible. And then, like I said, also, these right now currently innuendo and allegations. I believe that in America we're innocent till proven guilty. So to point a finger at any one person or a number of people and make allegations towards them, once again, I think you have to question ethics there. And so that's my comments on this.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Dr. Conant?
I think the point of this question is, what's the board's responsibility in terms of trying to enforce board policies that already exist? And again, a board should be involved with policies and those types of governance issues. I disagree that day-to-day management is a part of the board's job. It is not. However, these unfortunate circumstances that we have found ourselves in, I think is probably brought home or made clear to any board member that we need accountability. And where does that begin? That begins with the president that we hire and his associates and his vice presidents and deans. And boards make decisions based on the information that they are presented with, not on their readings of books or statements or any of those kind of things. So again, I think a board is definitely required to be involved in those policies. And if those policies are weak, then a board needs to do whatever it takes to strengthen those. You also have to have the right people in those jobs, or policies make no difference whatsoever.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Hammond.
You know, I grew up in Missouri, and one of the disadvantages in growing up in Missouri is you learn a lot about Harry Truman. You know, they have a holiday in Missouri. You get Harry Truman's birthday off, which maybe is a good thing. I can always use another holiday. But Harry, they always said, and I've been actually to the reproduction of his office in Independence, and there was a thing that said the sign, "The buck stops here." And finally it comes down, it's the Board of Trustees or the Board of Education that sets the tone, that sets the policies, that sets the procedures. They are responsible. And I'm sorry, but I think the trustees have to look at themselves. I have to look at this since there's currently a federal grand jury. Some of our former employees have been subpoenaed in that issue. I understand the college has hired 3 attorneys at between $250 to $350 per hour to represent them. There's a Title IX violation. Unfortunately, if this was the only issue we were dealing with, it wouldn't be so bad. But it seems to be an ongoing issue. It needs to be cleaned up. I think I can help clean it up. We don't have these kind of problems where I've worked.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Harshberger.
But so far, I don't think a single person has really answered your question. What would you do to prevent it? Everybody's getting into accusations and all these platitudes. But I've already talked to the president about, instilling a whistleblower program when certain people are asked to do things that they're not supposed to in the faculty. They haven't had no place to go to. So this person needs to answer to the Board of Trustees, so when something does occur that they think is wrong, they have some place to go without the fear of repercussions. The other thing I've done since I've got on the board about 6 months ago is insist upon we go through and review policies. And we have to know, the board needs to know what the policies are and make sure that the president and the administration adheres to those policies. The important thing with the Glendenning investigation is knowing what happened so you can provide the proper oversight to prevent it from happening again. That's the learning exercise that needs to occur from that, is to figure out how, if people want to do wrong, they're going to do wrong. And there's little that you can do about it. But you need to have the correct policies and procedures in place, and then the checks and balances. So what we need to do now is go through and develop checks and balances on this. The one thing I brought up was that whistleblower program. So there's things that we can do. That's one of them. And the policies and procedures is of utmost importance to review and update. Some of these things haven't been looked at for many, many years.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Ms. Gorbulik?
I think all institutions have personalities. And I think that what might prevent this happening again is from the top down, from the Board of Trustees down, we need strict adherence to the policies as they exist. They need to be reviewed, as Mr. Harshberger says, and policy enforcement needs to be done immediately. We need account responsibility and a strength of adherence to everything. The board needs to monitor, and it needs to be an atmosphere of, from the board down, that we follow our policies And if we don't, and a policy must be changed or broken, it's immediately reported to the board. Not, oh, yes, by the way. That doesn't work in this institution anymore.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. Ms. Ramsauer.
Well, the question was, how are we going to stop this again? And I think this awareness will put a stop to a lot of it right now. I know everyone on this board has got a completely different view now of what was happening or what was said to be happening. And the integrity of the college is now in question because of several things that are going on. But I think that the policies, the regulations, the review of each one of them, even the rewriting, checking with the Board of Regents, and finding out what their thoughts are on various policies is very important. I don't want us to go back and have to say, what did we do wrong, or how do we stop this again? I think it's got to stop now. And I do believe that the accountability piece for all of us, whether it's a Board of Trustees, the president, the classroom instructors, we are all accountable to these students and what they learn. And that's the whole bottom of this. We have students that depend on us, and we can't have these kind of things happening in this college.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsauer. I have several more questions. However, I've been informed that we are at that point where we're to do the closing remarks. So with that, we're going to start, we'll start at the other end of the table. With you, Mr. Weil, we'll work this way. You will each have a minute and a half to give any closing remarks that you might have. And with that, you may start if you're ready.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity to allow me to share my visions and ideas for Dodge City Community College. My basic premise for becoming a trustee and running for this position is we can do better. We can establish a curriculum with an eye to the future needs of our ever-evolving community and region. Dodge City Community College can gauge the pulse of industry, the arts, and technology. Our community's college should prepare our students for the lives they want to live. We should be the path students can take to achieve their goals. Trustees must concentrate on repairing faculty and administration relations. It's imperative that faculty and administration become a team that is devoted to enriching our college. Trustees need to take responsibility for becoming fiscally responsible and accountable for Ford County's taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. The board needs to immediately stop pointing fingers and blaming others for the long laundry list of controversies the college has experienced recently. Trustees need to acknowledge that these issues have occurred while under their watch. When our sons or daughters come home and they've been in hot water, and they'll say something to the effect of, well, it was Johnny and Sally and Tommy did it too, what do we usually say? We say, well, you know, Tommy and Sally are not my children, you are. So one of the lessons we try to teach people about accountability is to take responsibility and say, you know, they're not my children, you are. Let me conclude with this. We can establish Dodge City Community College to be the premium educational source for our community and the surrounding communities. We can do better.
Thank you, Mr. Weil. Mr. Rockenborn?
I taught for 35 years. I see there's students sitting out here. I want you students to get your pencils ready. I ask my students every 9 weeks, what could I do better? I hand them a sheet of paper to fill out. What could I do better so that you would learn more? What could I do better? Each and every day, I'm taking almost an hour of your life for 186 days this year. What can I do better? I got a lot of feedback. The last question on there is, what could you do better to help me do better in my teaching? I disagree with Mr. Harshberger. I answered the question. You need to be a hands-on board. What has happened is this hands-on off board has caused this mess to happen. Folks, you're the voters. It's truly in your hands. You can put this mess back in office, or you can vote for 4 new members. You need to clean house. You need to put in new trustees who have the experience and the will to be hands-on. You need to put in people who will straighten out this mess that these incumbents have handed this community. It's time, November 7th. You better change the situation. You need to fix this mess. Thank you. Oh, students, my number is 620-253-5907. I want to know what you're thinking. I really want to hear from you. Call me.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves?
Yes, thank you. I do want to assure everybody in attendance and in the listening audience that the current administration is taking positive steps in rectifying some of these conditions that we talked about here tonight in our college. In summary, I'm running as a trustee to protect and enhance the student successes within Dodge City Community College. Secondly, I want to ensure diversity in our college. And third, I want to ensure that our students continue to receive a quality education. This brings us to our academic rigor, which we must ensure will be viewed favorably by the Higher Learning Commission next spring. We must continue our current administration's quest of ensuring that all faculty members, whether academic or technical, whether regular or adjunct, are fully qualified under the parameters set by the Higher Learning Commission. I feel my life experiences in education served me well as a trustee. I hold a doctor's degree in education administration with emphasis in business and finance from the University of Southern California. My career has been in education, from classroom teacher to principal to central administration as associate superintendent of the Alameda County Office of Education in California. Locally, I've served as assistant superintendent of business and finance in Dodge City. During that tenure, I participated in 2 successful bond elections, supervised the construction of 5 schools. The last school built before that was in 1957. As energy manager, I secured grants in excess of $600,000 to assist in installing state-of-the-art geothermal heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. In summary, I hope you'll find me to be an asset to the Board of Trustees, and I encourage all of you to be sure to vote for your candidate of choice on November the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Ms. Ramsauer?
When I was asked about why I was running, my first answer is I believe in the college, and I'm running for the students in this college. I want you to have the academic education that you deserve so that you can go and finish your career, whatever it is. I think we have a good board now. I disagree with some of the people that said a board of trustees needs to micromanage. I don't think board of trustees needs to micromanage. As an educator, as a principal in this district at one time, I did not want someone to come and micromanage my teachers. I want them to teach the way they needed to teach. I don't want to have to micromanage everything they do. It can't be done. But I do trust that we hire the best possible qualified people to get that job done. Whether it's the president or the academic deans, we need to be accountable for who is hired in order to allow the success of our students to continue on with their education. I ask for your vote just because I believe in this community in Dodge City and surrounding communities, Buckland, Spearville, Wright, and I want to put this college back at the center of what Dodge City has always been. And we have been an educational community that supplies a lot of different employment opportunities to many, many people, and that's what our college is.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsauer. Ms. Korbelik?
Well, good isn't good enough if it could be better. I lived through the failure of St. Mary of the Plains College, and I will never again sit quietly by and see a great college lose sight of its potential for innovation and its ability to benefit the community and enhance education. I'm running because I believe I am highly qualified to be a trustee, and if elected, I intend to work on this board. The work on this board is my highest priority. There's much to do within the coming year. The Higher Learning Commission will be making an evaluation, and I want that evaluation to show that this institution is a wonderful institution and is judged to be outstanding by the Higher Learning Commission. I want what's best for this college for the students and for the owners, which are the citizens of Ford County. I'm sincerely asking for your vote on November 7th. A great education is the most powerful weapon by which you can change the world. Nelson Mandela.
Thank you, Ms. Korbelik. Mr. Harshberger.
6 months ago, I made a decision to try to be on the college trustees when a position that was vacated by Trustee Webb, he decided to retire. Because I felt like I was at a time in my life I had something to contribute. I've gone through, like I said before, 20 years of training in farm credit in a lot of these areas. I believe that I bring the proper oversight that can be very helpful to the school. I believe, like many people, I was coming into the board, I was alarmed by some of the things that I was learning that had happened over the past many years. And I probably was highly critical of the board, even being a trustee and understanding, you know, that there's a delicate line between micromanaging and proper oversight. And I believe boards, they go through a learning spell and they've taken a black eye. But they've learned through that process and now they know where the holes are. But I was really changed my tune on that when I learned 2 years ago they made a decision, a strategic decision to change course at the college. You know, they could have voted Danny Gillum like many in the faculty wanted and many in the community wanted, but they knew something was going wrong with the school. Many things that they couldn't divulge to the public. So the process of change started 2 years ago. They knew things were wrong. And they voted in a new direction, a new president. I decided to get on board because I thought I was at a time in my life that I could help contribute, but also thought that we had a man in place that could take this college into the future and clean up this mess. So I do ask for your vote. That's why I got involved. I believe I have those attributes that can help in proper oversight and governance and lead this college into the future.
Thank you, Mr. Harshberger. Mr. Hammond.
Couple of issues. There are a number of people in our community that are pretty well to do. There's some people in Dodge City that have money. There's some people who can send their kids to KU, K-State, no big deal, or a private school. But for an awful lot of our kids in Dodge City, if we really look at who we are today, the community college is their option. That option needs to be great in terms of academic. It needs to be great in terms of technical programs. It also ought to be great in terms of community enrichment. You cannot be great and have the problems that you have in Dodge City. And I'm sorry, folks, I like a lot of people on this board. A lot of them I would have considered my friends, but it's time for change. It's time for a new direction, because the kids in this community deserve better. And that's why I'm running for the board. We don't have to have lawsuits. We don't have to have bad faculty relationships. We don't have to have everybody at everybody's throat. We have to instill policy in this college that's going to make a difference. And I understand what that takes. I'd ask for your vote. And thank you for coming, and thanks for the organizations that gave us forum this evening, and you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Dr. Conant.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and supporting the candidates up here that are part of this forum. You know, I look down the road and I see that every one of us has been a beneficiary of higher education at some point in our lives. And I think that's the biggest thing, that I'm still running for the Board of Trustees at Dodge City Community College. Who are we responsible to? Well, our customers are the students, and the students are the future, and we need to provide them, and they deserve the best from us that this community college can be. There have been some rough patches, I understand that. I also think that the best days can be ahead for this community college. You hear tonight of many kinds of opportunities out there. Challenging higher education is everywhere. And I think we can address those challenges. I look forward to being a part of this board in the future, and I ask for your vote on November 7th.
Thank you, Doctor. First, I'd like to say thanks to all of the candidates. Your answers were enlightening and truly appreciated, and I'm sure that the audience did too. And thank you to the audience. Yeah, give them a hand. Give them a hand. And you as an audience are very attentive, and I hope you gained something from this. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Lawler. Andrea?
We would like to thank Dr. Conant, Mr. Hammond, Mr. Harshberger, Ms. Klorblick, Ms. Ramsauer, Dr. Reeves, Mr. Reichenborn, and Mr. Weil. I would also like to give a special thank you to Dan Love for serving as our moderator for this event. This concludes our candidate forum. Have a great evening.